Morning, guys. Um, so this morning I wanted to, well, at least just for this month, I wanted to make a video on basically a day in my life as a multilingual polyglot, whichever one you want to call it, they mean the same thing. But yeah, I mean, I think it might be helpful to you if you are a person who is curious about learning other languages, and or if you're just kind of considering trying to find habits or things that people typically do as they are learning multiple languages as well as maintaining those languages, because the thing is that when you speak multiple languages you have to maintain it, otherwise you will lose it. So if you just kind of like want to know a day in my life, what my life habits kind of look like, and whatnot. So, I mean, right now I am waking up, and what I typically do after that is brush my teeth, and I usually will do like yoga in the morning. I enjoy doing yoga. I've been doing it for about just about 10 years now. It's great, like for like I usually do it because I originally started doing it because I used to dance for a long time, for a while when I was younger. And since I don't dance anymore, I typically do yoga to kind of keep my form, but also there's a lot of mental benefits to yoga as well. Yeah. So there's that. Then I brush my teeth and I, eat breakfast. So I've heard that you're supposed to brush your teeth before you eat breakfast because it has something to do with like bacteria overnight or something, in your mouth. So you're not supposed to eat food before you brush your teeth. Yeah. So that's basically what I'm doing right now, and I'll follow along. I organize everything on my Google Calendar. So as you can see here, my Google account is basically in French. Yeah, it's mainly in French. My phone, however, is in Spanish right now. Well, at the time that you're seeing this, I'm talking, the time that I'm recording this, it is in Spanish, but I change it every once in a while depending on whatever it is. Sometimes I might see like certain emails or certain things show up in other languages, but it's basically because my phone is in a certain language. So like if I check my Gmail on my phone, everything is going to be in Spanish. But if I check it on my computer, it's going to be in French. So it really kind of is confusing. I've had instances where my phone will like change languages. I remember my phone was in French one time and I woke up one day and it was in Italian and I was like, I can understand it, but how did that happen? It's like my devices are so confused because I'm always changing languages all the time. So I basically block out time to actually take like time. Yeah, I take time to just basically maintain and keep learning. So I feel like an hour or like 15 minutes or an hour is like not enough time to really like get into something. So I find times where I'm like mostly free. So here, obviously, like the big white parts are typically areas where I am working. So I'm not really free during those times. So from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m., I'm an early riser. So that's basically 7 to 11 in East Coast time. I usually block out that time for Italian. And basically in this point in time, I really try not to I try not to cram or like study, so to say, because I think that that's kind of not effective. I mean, you can study because there are people who are really academic about their language learning, which is fine. I personally am not. So even though that I have this 4-hour time block there, I don't have to use the entire time block. It's like saying between 4 and 8, you should be focused on Italian. So if I click on this, there's actually a course that I've been going through. I'll open that up so you can see it. There's a really good online course. I actually recommended it on our website under the online courses. So usually I do try out a lot of online courses, and then I usually will recommend it for people who are looking to learn a language or whatnot. So this is the advanced course. So like, for example, here, this is the advanced course because I've been doing these courses since I believe November or December. So for example, this is the 9th unit. And each unit is about something that is involving culture. So every every unit basically has something that's related to work. Yeah, so I usually have like sometimes in the notes. Oh yeah, yes, in the notes I usually will have like just like a link to a course that I want to get through. And then under Spanish, I don't really have anything under there. That's just mainly like between 1 and 3 p.m. Pacific Coast time that I'm going to be working on Spanish. That could be anything. Like, it doesn't have to be an online course. It could be like, hey, I'm going to go on YouTube and I'm going to just watch videos in that language. I do take random courses as well. And I like Future Learn. It's a really great platform if you want to learn from actual universities without actually having to go to these universities. You can pay for certification, but usually you don't like, you can pay for certifications, but you really don't have to if you don't want to. It's usually free for a limited amount of time. So you have, like, if the course is 4 weeks long, you have 6 weeks to complete it. So basically between that, it's very, I would say they're very interactive. There's very discussion based. So you're always interacting with other people. These are some courses that I still have access to. I've taken a global citizenship course in relation to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, global education for teachers, and also this is Toucan. I have this. It is a browser extension if you have Chrome. Basically what it does is, as you can see here, I have it set to German, but basically there's vocab words that just pop up. So like randomly you'll be reading something in English, and then all of a sudden there's a random word in German. And then after a while, when you highlight it, you'll see what it is, and then you can hit I know it, or I know this, and then it usually will, you won't see that word as often because you know it. Yeah, I do like teaching young learners, short film, like introduction to Italian. I recommended that as well. Introduction to Frisian, which is spoken in Friesland in the Netherlands. I actually really liked that course. That's actually how I ended up like learning that. It's the second official language in the Netherlands. So I found that course after I had taken the introduction to Dutch as a refresher, multilingual practices. So there's really a lot of courses that are based on that you can take on this platform that are for language learning, for cultural studies, anything that you just want to like a quick online course to do. And I usually pace myself every week. And then there's, as you can see in here, sometimes people will comment on things, or it'll show up there. I'm going to probably go look at that later. Yeah, so basically I have online courses that are links to courses that I'm trying to finish, but usually what I'll do is I'll go on YouTube and I'll probably find something to do. And like I was saying with YouTube, for example, one thing I usually do is I'll say, like, aprender español. I don't have my keyboard set up, so, and so from there, you'll typically find people who are going to teach Spanish in Spanish. Yeah, or if you just type in a Spanish phrase, you're most likely going to find someone like if you want to say mi vida cotidiana, like my daily life, you'll most likely find people who are talking about things in Spanish. It's really helpful. There's a really good YouTube channel that I follow. It's a Dutch channel. It's called Dutchies to Be. I also have that on our website under recommended YouTube channels to follow. And she teaches Dutch, but it's very comprehensible to follow, but because she teaches it in Dutch. It's sometimes hard to speak. Sometimes I think because for me, I'm always like, because I have so many different languages rolling around in my brain, sometimes like when I speak, I'm like, that is English, right? Or like, did I say the right thing? So there's that. But basically there's different ways you really want to spend more time getting involved with the actual language. You want to rely on your native language or English. If you're like me, English is my native language. You want to really rely on that as less as possible to get to a point where you can comprehend and not have to think about it. Because one of the biggest hindrances that I've had is when I overthink things, or I try to translate in my head. I'm thinking, no, just learn it as you see it. It's how babies do. They don't have any reference of the language to really go off of, so they just don't. They just, so. I will say one of the things I'd love to do a lot is read. So it was very good. It's called Mastery. It's by Robert Greene. So this book, we've all heard about the 10,000 hour rule. About it takes about 10,000 hours, which is actually approximately 7 or 8 years to master a skill. And so he breaks down. Robert Greene basically breaks down like those 10,000 hours into 3 parts. So like the apprentice phase, the creative action phase, and then the rationality and intuition infusion phase, which is how you achieve mastery. So it's like, it's like, yeah, 10,000 hours of practice, but how do you make use of that? Monsieur Mediocre, one American learns the high art of being everyday French. It's actually kind of like, I don't know how to describe what this story is. It is a true story. It's basically a guy who, John von Sothen, who basically is talking about his experience of, he married a French woman and he moved from the U.S. to France. He lives specifically in Paris, and having to be like, okay, well, this is my story of adjusting to French culture on a daily basis. The Definitive Book of Body Language. This is a revised and expanded edition of a previous book that they wrote, but this is by Alan and Barbara Peace. So this is very interesting because for me, I rely on paralinguistics when I don't understand. So paralinguistics is like a way is like everything you don't say. So for me, it's like, okay, like there's a whole chapter on hands, like how hand gestures can convey certain meanings, or what they can possibly mean, and there's a whole chapter on smiling and laughing. I do read books in other languages too. I've been a fan of John C. Maxwell because he writes a lot of books about leadership, and so this is his book Leadership, but this is the Spanish version. I found this book in Mexico when I was there, and I was just like, I'm gonna go to a bookstore. I'm gonna find, because the thing is, it's really hard to find authentic books. So I'm thinking, or like books in Spanish here in the United States, or at least where I live. So I'm like, hey, I'm in Mexico. Let me buy some books so I can actually have something to read in another language. When I was studying abroad in Paris, I remember I went to a church that was out there, and I picked up this French Bible. So for me, for all of my Christians out there, or anyone who, it's not even just Christian, I think like anyone who is devoted to a particular faith, there's no reason why you can't do that in your target language. So this is, when I was there, for people who, at the end of the service, they typically have an invitation to discipleship, and they ask people if you want to, it's like, oh, if you were touched by this message and you want to follow Jesus, or you want to get to, your first steps of, this new faith, they're like, we would like to gift you with a Bible if you don't have one. And for me, even though I've accepted Christ a long time ago, I was just thinking, well, I'm here, I might as well get one. So I did, and basically, like, it's the whole Bible in French. It's like if you have the YouVersion app, you can actually find almost every biblical translation that there ever was in every language. So, like, I know in English we have so many translations of the Bible, so you can use that. Because that's how I do devotions on there. There's so many different Bible plans on there where you can actually read devotions in that language. So usually every once in a while when I want to, I'll open my Bible and it'll be in French. So the thing is you gotta practice your language in every aspect of your life. That's how you acquire it to its fullest. If you can talk about your faith in entire language, like if you end up going to another country and you end up visiting a church like I did, being able to talk about Jesus, and your testimonies or whatever it is that you want to talk about in that language. You got to make it a part of your everyday life. I write my to-do lists. Anything that I know I'm the only one that's going to be reading it, I typically will write it in my target language. Like some days it'll be Spanish, some days it'll be German, some days it's French. French is easy. French is kind of like English to me, so sometimes it just is second nature. I'm like, I don't want to write this out in German. I'm just going to write it in French. You have options. So I feel like, if it's something that you are going to be using on a daily basis, I always write it out. I tell one of my students, I told her that even if you only know a few words, I'm like, just write out what you know, and then the rest, just whatever you don't know, just write it in English. You want to be writing, because that's how it's solidified in your brain. So these are all the keyboards I use because it's just easier. The only thing is that with my keyboard is like it's the United States like standard keyboard. But like these are like if I want to type in other languages, and like it's just easier because if I need accent marks, I don't like having to go, because before I was using this right here, the character map, and I would have to go and find it, copy it, paste it, and that's too much. I would just find these, and then I would just and if I really didn't know like which keyboard, because I know in the German keyboard, like the Y and the Z are switched, and then these three buttons here are umlaute, accented letters. So it's like, and then if I really don't know the placement of something, I have all these keyboards. I have like 3 French keyboards. If I really don't know, I actually have it set up to where I would have the keyboard here. So I can just click on that. So it has it there. So I can see what the keyboard looks like, even though my keyboard is in the standard United States setting. I can still see where the accent marks are if I press shift, where the numbers are. And it's the same thing, like if I switch to any other keyboard, it's still going to show me the same thing. Let's look at the Dutch one. Theirs is pretty similar. So, because they only have like 2 accent marks, or 2 or 3. Like, I mean, they don't have that many, but still. And you can see the A and the Q are switched here, which is the same thing in French. Like this off the top is pretty similar to French. So you'll never really have to worry about where are the accent marks. You just find it on your keyboard, and you don't have to go through character map all the time. So like there's also auto correct. So usually what happens is like when I type, I don't have anything that I'm typing here, but when I do, there's like suggestions that pop up here, and I can just like, well, my computer is touchscreen, so I can just like, I'll type on it and it will show up there, like suggestions of what I'm trying to say. So just a tip, if you're looking for ways to improve your writing skills and you're just trying to type and you want to have your accent marks. Another thing I will say is like music. So I make that a big part of my life as well. So it's gotten to the point where I don't listen to anything in English anymore. I know that I know that like I'll listen to songs in English only through third party. It's like when I was in college around the last year before I graduated, I remember what was I trying to say? Sometimes I lose my train of thought. So many things running around my brain. But I remember when I was in college, I remember like I don't really listen to like, Ariana Grande, for example. I know that that's like a big, like she's a big artist in pop culture. So for me, I mean, I remember the only reason why I knew that she had a new album at that time was because my roommates were listening to it. That's how I keep up with what's going on in the United States, like our music in English. But everything else is, like on Instagram, I'm always following artists from other countries. And I know I've done dissect a song videos on this channel as well, because I love her music. Namika for German. She's a very good artist. If you go on our website, there's also a whole section under music, so you can find Spotify playlists, recommendations, and then yeah. So I mean, I don't really listen to much music in English unless it's like I have like musical cravings. Like I'll wake up one day, or I'll be like working on something, all of a sudden a song just pops in my head, and I'm like, I want to listen to that right now. I mean, I don't know what it was, but like I think like a couple days ago, I actually had this craving to listen to Mozart, and I was like, because I haven't listened to Mozart in a while. I love all kinds of music as long as it sounds good. Like if it's not good, I'm not going to listen to it. But yeah, I do appreciate classical music. When I was in high school, I went through a phase where I was obsessed with Sinatra music. I love jazz, of course, it's my name. I do like old school like R&B music because my parents usually will like play it all the time at like family gatherings. Yeah, so there's a lot of different types of music out there. You just have to find what you like. One of the things I like about Spotify is they do like daily mixes, because there are artists that I listen to, like for example with French, like most people have heard of Stromae, who's the Belgian artist that most people know. Angèle I found on YouTube actually, and I know her older brother does rap. Like she does, like Angèle does pop music, but then like her older brother does like rap and hip hop. And then there's like, and then I eventually discovered other music. I was really into Maître Gims. I still love his music. These are just French artists. And then because I liked those artists, they were recommended me other artists, related artists. So I'm like, oh, cool. Like I can actually find other people I like. That's actually how I think how I found, that's how I found Alvaro Soler. Yeah, his music is really good. And I found his music on YouTube. Actually, I was listening to a song called, what was I listening to? I was listening to a Melendi song. It was Déjala que baile. And I was just like, in the suggestions, it was like, Alvaro Soler. I was like, oh, cool. I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. So, and I ended up like listening to his song, La Cintura. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I ended up listening to a lot of his other music. So, it kind of is a chain reaction. There's also a really good site that I use every once in a while. It's also an app. It's called Lyrics Training. It's also on our website. We recommend it as well. I want you to know that every resource that I talk about, it's listed on the website. So no matter what, there's going to be links to everything. I'm just not like just talking about abstract things. You can actually find them. And you can actually discover songs and artists internationally, and like you would like fill in the blank with the lyrics. So you listen and then you fill in the blank, or you will select, if you choose multiple choice mode, you can actually select the word that fits into that box based on what you heard. So music, I think, is a really great way to develop listening comprehension and pronunciation. So a lot of times, even if I don't know what I'm saying, I'll like listen to a song long enough that I'm starting to like sing the song perfect accent. And I have no idea what I'm saying. It's like, oh, what? I think, I'll get like certain words or things right here, but I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. And I'm like, I have no idea what they're saying, but I get it. I dig it. So, okay, so I am right now going downstairs to get my laundry. I put it in the wash, and I'm trying to put it in the dryer, obviously, or at least see if it's done. But I have to teach tomorrow, so I'm basically on Mondays. I was teaching her on Mondays, but then she thought that it was better for her to do it on Tuesdays. So usually I have like material that I'll put together. I actually enjoy teaching because it holds me accountable to learning, because I teach this person German every week, and usually I'm coming up with content, and I'm actually that's why I schedule it on Fridays and Saturdays, that I'm always taking like German online courses, so that way I'm refreshed. I have like ideas of content for the next week. I don't copy though, because I think that's like, you really shouldn't do that, especially if it's like copyrighted content. But I might get ideas about what kind of content, like in terms of what topics to cover. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a good grammar point to point out. So I'll like make note of that, and I'll put like worksheets together of like things that I think are going to help with that. So teaching kind of helps you be able to solidify what you know, and then basically just, solidifies what you know. And then I also have like a tendency where I'll talk to native speakers a lot. Like I do have a friend of mine who was from a church that I attend in Los Angeles. He's from Germany, and so he actually was the reason why I learned German, because he told me it was hard, and I was like, watch me. So usually like with him, I'll like text him on like Instagram or something like that. And I have another friend of mine that I made who also lives in Germany. So I talk to him every once in a while, and I just test out like new things that I learn. And he's like, "Oh, you learned that you improved today," or "Oh, I didn't really know you knew that," or you know, just something like that. Or he'll correct me or something like that. So that's always fun. It's almost done. I got one more minute. The thing is I don't know if you guys are like do this with your laundry, but I usually try not to use as much heat. Like I wash everything cold because it's actually better for your clothes anyway. Just because you don't have to worry about fading of the fabric or stretching or things like that, especially with like, and I went to fashion school, so I know this, you know, especially when you deal with like synthetic fibers like polyester, like PET, rayon, like any man-made fibers, you really don't need to have a whole lot of heat. Yeah, I usually wash it cold. I heard it's good for the environment, you know, it saves energy. Yeah, right now I'm sitting at my desk. I'm just getting ready to edit. I'm actually ahead of schedule today, so I'm going to probably just try to edit. And as you know, my video editing software is in French. And then I have my excess sparkling water with the magnesium pomegranate acai infused. This is actually a new line, so I will link that if you want to see that. And then this is just Trader Joe's food. I love Trader Joe's because you can get imported food for cheap. It's like, I mean, I think it's because Trader Joe's is the distributor. So, and they're the distributor and the retailer. So you don't have to pay like this excess retail price, like markup. It's like you cutting out the middleman. So I just have the buttered chicken with the rice and then the naan. It's like one of my favorite microwave. Like I don't really microwave it. I like to put it in the oven because I'm not a big fan of using the microwave. But that's gonna be my dinner for the day because it's 6 o'clock already. So I feel like going outside because it's warm. It's sunny today. So let's see what the weather looks like. Uh, so um, I sometimes come outside just because I need to like think or just get some sun because I'm inside all day. But I think like for me, one of the things that's been kind of difficult is because my parents don't speak anything besides English natively. So it's like I have to create the environment for myself. So usually like with like friends and yeah, there's that dog, you know, with like friends or whatnot. So I usually have to create that. Like one of the good things about WhatsApp is that you can record voice messages and like people can actually hear you speak and be like, oh, you said something wrong. There's also apps where you can actually correct people like in their sentences, because I do know that friends will do that in through WhatsApp. So yeah, it's fun. So that's basically my day, a day in the life of someone who speaks multiple languages. You know, we're constantly studying and maintaining. I mean, when I say studying, I don't mean like, oh, we're like, our heads are in books. Like, no, we don't study that way. At least, like, I don't. But it's more so as just maintaining it, just trying to find ways to just use it in practice. I actually follow kind of like the way that interpreters do, because like interpreters are always having to be exposed to different um, like to different languages or whatever the language is that they're fluent in, because that way they can pick up new slang, new dialogue, because language evolves all the time and there's always nuances, so they have to keep up to date on anything that changes. So I kind of follow that method. So if people in the UN do it and they get paid a lot of money probably to sit in one of those soundproof boxes to translate what people from other countries, like leaders all over the world, are saying. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this is helpful, kind of give you an insight of what we do, because I know people expect like, oh, we're just studying and our heads are in books all the time. Like, no, not at all. It's like just about, you know, getting out there and just trying to find ways to apply what you know and being exposed to what's out there. You're not really going to learn how to be fluent in a language if you're not exposing yourself to real life examples, because we don't speak in textbooks. You know, we speak how we speak normally. And like I said, language evolves. So sometimes like things like even like slang, like things that my parents said when they were young, like my age, we don't say that at all, you know. So just be aware of nuances and just trying to, you know, get as much exposure as you possibly can, because it's going to be worth it in the long run. Even like, you know, in Paris, they're going to speak French a little bit differently if you're going to like further south of the country. So always be aware of that. Exposure, exposure, exposure. So I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.